Hello and welcome to the British Dapper, and today we're talking about London question and answers part 2. So this is a continuation video based on my recent meet and greet with Ash Jones of the Chap's Guide in London, where we fielded a series of questions by yourselves, and these are our responses to those questions.
Okay, so welcome back again to our tiny hotel room in central London in the Union Jack Club, where me and Chris from the British Dapper channel are answering the questions that you have sent in whilst we're in town to participate in a meeting of the Gentlemen's Nirvana Club tonight.
Yeah.
So, let me just get straight on here. I've got a question from Nathan, who hails from Alabama, and he says, in several of your videos you mentioned purchasing items from eBay. Can you provide guidance on how to go about finding high quality items, what to look for and watch out for, and other such advice when purchasing items on that platform? So, I buy loads of stuff from eBay. It is my the wardrobe from which I often choose my clothing. What about you? What advice would you give then, Chris?
Well, eBay is a great platform. Vinted is another one. There's quite a few others out there as well. So, but the basic principle I would do is do your research basically on what you want to buy. Don't just go and type in shoes and then you inadvertently buy the wrong pair of shoes, or you don't pay attention to the photographs are paramount. So if you've got blurry pictures, I wouldn't even go there. I maybe contact the seller and say, can you give us clearer pictures or something like that? Because the trouble is when you're talking about pre-worn things, if you can't zoom in on the picture enough to see what the wear is, sometimes you'll find that the stitching has gone underneath and they will need to be redone as soon as you get them or very shortly afterwards, and then it's not such a good purchase. Same with the uppers as well, they can crack, and if the pictures are blurry or very discreetly angled at a funny angle so they don't show that, you could actually end up buying a pup basically.
Totally.
So there, and when it comes to clothes as well, there are things to think about like cuffs, collars. They're the wear points on shirts. Moth holes are another thing to look out for especially when you're talking about 100% wool, things like that, jumpers, jackets, suits. There are a whole range of things that can trip you up. So it's just a case of thinking, when you're looking at these items, think about the worst case scenario and then try and eliminate that from your investigation as you go through the pictures, the write-up as well. It could be quite a comprehensive write-up, and they may well say in the write-up slight mark, or they might even say picture number 3 relates to a moth mark or something along those lines. So do your research. Shop around as well. Don't just click on the first thing you see. Be quite descriptive in your when you're typing in what you're looking for. When you're searching something, be specific. Maybe, for example, if you're looking for Loke shoes, then put in Loke shoes, brogue, something along those lines. So you refine your search and potentially but still buy within your budget. So don't necessarily go for the cheapest ones, because you will obviously get things that are quite well worn. So it's that balancing your budget, how much you can afford, because even if you're going to spend £100 on a pair of shoes second hand, you can still get really good quality shoes that'll probably last you another 10 years based on the value of the purchase.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm wearing a pair of shoes today that I bought from eBay. I've got a pair of Grenson shoes on, and there is probably my tip for you. knowledge is your friend when it comes to buying from eBay. So everybody in the world will be looking for church shoes, Crockett and Jones shoes. They will attract a high premium. You will not probably get them very cheap.
Yeah.
If you have knowledge, though, you will be aware that there are brands like Grenson, Chini, Loke, who are providing an excellent quality product, but they're not so sought after. And the same goes for clothing. I mean, one of my favourite brands that I always chase after on eBay is Brook Taverner.
Yeah.
Now, it's not a huge company. They've only got about 10, 15 stores in the UK. But they are a traditional men's tailor, and they do produce a really good product when it comes to jackets, suits, clothing and shirts and the like. But they don't have a huge aftermarket following. And I often pick things up. I mean, I bought an overcoat of Brook Taverner's for £20 earlier this season, and it would have cost hundreds and hundreds should I have bought it full price. And the reason I got it cheap is because people were not chasing after that brand. They would be chasing after, Crombie or Aquascutum, but not Brook Taverner, because it just doesn't have the brand cachet. So knowledge is your friend. If you want to go out and buy a pair of shoes or an overcoat, invest your time in finding out what you want, and don't get drawn into that auction thing. Set yourself a price. If you want to pay no more than 25, put 25 initially, right? Don't be drawn into bidding up. You put that 25 in at the get-go, and that way you're not going to get sucked into a destructive auction where you'll end up paying 50 because you get into a bidding war. That would be my advice. And also from Nathan, he has said here, what are your thoughts regarding smartwatches? I enjoy traditional watches. I also benefit from the health features of a smartwatch. So can a smartwatch fit into the sartorial style of a chap? But we're both sitting here wearing normal watches, so we've kind of evidenced that. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I suppose I personally don't think smartwatches go with that sartorial look. I think it's a very, very casual look. A smartwatch tends to, in my mind, I relate it to somebody who's keeping fit, monitoring their health, using it for that type of thing. I don't really see how that goes with wearing a suit or wearing a wool coat or shoes. That sort of look is probably more going to be a case of a dress watch. It does really enhance the overall look. I think when you see somebody really dressed up in, for example, a £10,000 suit, their shoes are £500, they're wearing a hat from Lock & Co, and then they go like this and they've got a smartwatch with Mickey Mouse on it. I don't really think that's going to...
No.
It distracts you and completely gives you a different view of that individual, just purely on that aesthetic look.
Totally. I've got a smartwatch. Not an Apple Watch. No, Apple Watches, I think, is probably what you mean here. I think it's the most prolific watch in the world.
Yeah.
I have a smartwatch which I use when I take exercise. I do not wear that when I'm wearing nice clothing. I don't get a sense of sartorial boost to wear, plastic and smartwatches by definition tend to be quite unattractive. So for me, I have a smartwatch, but I wear it when I'm doing activities relating to that. And I wear normal watches the rest of the time. I just think it's a bit more sartorial. There we go. So, I got a question from Mallard, who says, if you two gentlemen had to choose 3 fragrances for life to cover your seasonal needs, what would they be? Now, I actually thought about this in advance, right? So, I'll answer and you can think of yours.
Yeah, no.
So, for me, if I had to choose 3 fragrances from my own collection, right? So, I don't know, I can't speak of other things. And there is obviously the caveat is that fragrances smell different on different people. So, depending on what your skin chemistry is. But if I had to choose 1 fragrance and 1 fragrance alone, I'm wearing it now. It's Bleu de Chanel. So I just think that's universally practical all the time. It smells clean, it smells fresh, it's good in summer, it's good in, I think it's the 29th of February we're filming this, so we're on the cusp of spring, but it's just a very usable fragrance. If I was to choose a winter only fragrance, I would want something really powerful and strong. And my favourite, super strong fragrance is Eucharist by George Trumper. It is like being smacked in the face with a sledgehammer of masculinity. So I like that one. And if I was to go for a cheapie, I quite like Coram by Puig. It's like £12 a bottle. It's really strong. It's a throwback to the 80s, quite leathery and tobacco oriented.
Yeah.
And for the money, I think you can't do wrong with Puig Coram. Have you got any favourites that you like, Chris?
Yeah, Flores 89 and Flores 127, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Number special 127.
Yeah, special.
Winston Churchill's fragrance.
Yes. Yeah. So they're two that I like. But when it comes to maybe more stronger fragrances, Yves Saint Laurent Y is quite a strong one for me, and I've used the extreme one, so that's quite a strong smell. But again, each to their own. I mean, to limit somebody to 3 is quite cruel, really, because depending on the situation, I mean, I've used Flores Elite.
Yeah,
which is another one. That's a very nice, light, green, almost green fragrance, lemony flavour smell to it. So, yeah, it depends on the situation as well, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
Funny you mentioned Flores. I was in Flores yesterday, and they've just brought out a new fragrance called Wild, as in Oscar Wilde, and they're really kicking, kicking the back end out of it at the moment. The window is all decorated with books, from the Oscar Wilde era, and it's an interesting fragrance. I went in, I sprayed some of it on myself, and then I went back later in the day and tried it again, and yeah, they've done something pretty good with that one. Although at £180 a bottle, I am not going to be a customer anytime soon, but it is a really nice one. So if you're Flores is a very attractive brand, I think. Here we go. Right, so I've got a question here from Mittal, who says, I'm a 40-year-old gent, new to the sartorial world, and have been following your channel for a while and have learned a tremendous amount from it. I have a question regarding cuffed shirts. I've got about 5 shirts that have cuffs, and I'm not sure around the rules of wearing them. Can you wear cuffed shirts with trousers and no jacket? Australia, where I live, is quite hot and jackets are not always easy to wear in 40 degrees. Can cuffed shirts be worn with jeans, perhaps with a sports jacket? Do you have to wear a tie if you're wearing a cuffed shirt as a rule, or wear them without them? What do you think? I think when he means cuffs, he's meaning French cuffs.
Yes, I think that's what he means, well, I'm sort of... I do wear a French cuff. I love a French cuff, or what you call a double cuff. I think they're great for that formal look, but I do like to mix and match in a way. So I have worn them with a tweed jacket and a pair of jeans, open neck shirt, pocket square, and I think that's a great look. Yeah, you could wear a barrel cuff, but then you miss the opportunity of using for a cufflink, for example. Cufflinks are another little accessory I think really enhances a person's look. But it does come down to personal choice. If you're going to wear something more formal, like a suit, then I think a French cuff shirt is probably the best way to go. It heightens that look. It gives you that cufflink. It does really give you a great aesthetic for wearing a suit in the most formal of settings. And in between that, well, maybe you might want to wear a barrel cuff shirt with a suit, or if you're going to be wearing no jacket at all because of the climate, then maybe that would dictate more along the lines of a barrel cuff, I would suggest. But at the end of the day, when we talk about sartorialism, there are these so-called rules, but you can go outside that rule. Nowadays, people wear these clothes and we wear suits because we want to, not because we have to, but because we like that. So I would always encourage somebody to wear a shirt rather than a t-shirt. So in that sense, personally, I'd rather see somebody wearing a barrel cuff shirt, even if it's a little bit out of context, rather than not wear one. So that's my personal view.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I agree. For me, I'm wearing a French cuff shirt now, and largely I would say they are obviously formal. I mean, the most formal shirt a man will wear, a dress shirt, a dinner shirt, is a French cuff by definition. So that tells us that the French cuff its leaning is towards the most formal, and I get that. It allows us the opportunity to wear a cufflink. It's a nice accessory to add a little flash of personality to your outfit. If I was living in a hot country, though, I think my option or my preference would be a barrel cuff, simply because it gives you the option of rolling the sleeve. Whereas a French cuff, you can roll the sleeve, but it's going to be a clumpy old thing because you've got that extra thickness of material. So I've been to Australia, I know just how hot it is there. I would think majority of my wardrobe would be a barrel cuff option with just a few French cuff shirts for special occasions. When you say here about wearing a French cuff shirt with jeans, I would say that's not really, it's a little incongruous. Would you wear the most formal of something with the most informal of something?
Yeah.
If you want to make a sartorial statement, if that's your desire, but if you're trying to fit in and look sartorially sort of timeless, I would say probably not.
Barrel.
Probably not. Okay, so one more, is it? Let's do one more. And let's do an easy one, yeah? From Wolves Prince, what are your hobbies? We want to find out more about us.
Right, well, let's see. Well, besides making these videos and doing the research for them, I had 3 motorbikes. I've now got 2. So I do like to get on them when I can. I used to be a keen mountaineer and back in the day. So I still try. The last time I went was about 4 years ago, North Wales mountaineering.
Nice. Where'd you go?
I went to Snowdon area,
Nice.
Trefan. I used to run over the Snowdon Horseshoe.
Wow.
Now I'm lucky if I can walk over it. But so I do like my mountaineering, and which is not just walking; it is actually climbing. And I do. Historically, I've done quite a lot of solo climbing as well. So. So that's my background, that's my passion, if you like. Although physically now, at my age, now coming up to 63, so I do have to take it a bit easy now, and I'm so prone to injury now. Like, that's one of those things that you do get when you get older in age. But yeah, so I compensate by going out on the motorbike and hope I don't get knocked off.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not as adventurous, I have to say. I mean, I do love the outdoors, so for me, a little bit of bushcraft is something I really enjoy. So I often go out into the woods, and I enjoy the experience of lighting a fire using, fat wood from the trees, harvesting the fat wood, processing it, lighting a fire with a ferrocerium rod, stuff like that. It's just, perhaps I would say, more like being at one with nature.
Yeah.
Although it's not really, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you make a cup of tea from a fire that you've lit yourself, it tastes better, I think. So for me, that's it, being out in nature. And very unadventurously, I think something I've really gone down deliberately the path of the last few years has been reading a lot more. I've really invested in reading, and I'm finding it is giving me a second renaissance in learning, even though I'm, obviously in my mid-50s, but I never really read a great deal in my younger adulthood.
No.
Didn't have the time for it, but now I'm eking that time out. And although it's boring, I'm finding reading has really given me quite a lot. So there we go. Not really exciting stuff, but, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, there we go, folks. That was some more of your questions that we've answered here today, so I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.
We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, then please feel free to do so. We also have a Buy Me a Coffee page, and I'll put the link down below so you can make your contribution to the channel. We also enjoy questions and answers. So if you'd like to sport one on the comments below, then we'll try and get back to you straight away. But I would say some of the questions might be relevant for a future question and answer opportunity, and so I will then mention it or acknowledge the question and explain that we might want to use that in the future. So until next time, take care.